Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Team X call. This is Gardner calling in from beautiful Virginia. We had an ice storm come through yesterday, and it was really magnificently beautiful. If you've never seen the trees and every little twig with little icicles hanging off of them, you don't know what you're missing, but it's also a pretty dangerous thing. So overnight, the temperatures rose, and the freezing rain turned to just rain. And so today, all the ice is gone. Sun's shining. It's destined to be a beautiful day in more ways than one, and I trust it will be for yours as well. I may chase a rabbit too every once in a while. Today's a little different than the usual chasing. It's not a message inspired by groundhog or the three little pigs. This one was actually inspired by a short talk that I did for a local group earlier this week. We were talking about the importance of building relationships. And as part of the prep for that talk, I was inspired for this one. It's been a very long time since I was first Dale Carnegie trained and then became a Dale Carnegie trainer. And although I put those practices in place a long time ago and they become second nature to me, there are some nuggets that are worth revisiting, and this is one of them. Listen carefully to this quote from Dale Carnegie. It's likely to be a game changer for you. At least that's my goal, to drive it home so that it will be a game changer for you, because this reminder is a critical one, not only for you and your personal life, but also for your business, for every relationship in your life. And it goes like this: when dealing with people, let us remember we're not dealing with creatures of logic. We're dealing with creatures of emotion, creatures bristling with prejudices and motivated by pride and vanity. Wow, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? Let me repeat that. When dealing with people, let us remember we're not dealing with creatures of logic. We're dealing with creatures of emotion, creatures bristling with prejudices and motivated by pride and vanity. We see what happens when we turn to any relationship in our life, whether it's with a mate or with our children, or with our friends, or with our prospects for this business. When we address them with logic instead of prompting emotions, it's a train wreck every time. If you want to see positive results in your relationships and in your business, you have to remember that you're dealing with creatures of emotion, not creatures of logic. People buy based on emotion. They don't buy based on logic. They never have, and they never will. So you can turn to any commercial for any product on the market, and if you watch and listen very carefully, you'll see that the ads are driven to instill emotion. They're not a logical approach to their product or service. Whether it's excitement or happiness or relief to find a solution in their life. Some of those commercials are even designed to instill fear, which of course is an emotion. It doesn't really matter. Logic doesn't come into the decision equation at all. Again, it never has, and it never will. So when you consider that, I want you to consider how you're presenting this business or our products to another. You've heard me say it before, and it's worth repeating again. The intent of a demo should be to dazzle the audience enough to prompt an emotional response and not to educate them. So many people are addressing prospects or their audience with logic and not working on the emotional side at all. We're not in the educational business, though, are we? We're in the people business. We're in the business of changing lives. If that's the goal, there's no way around or no excuse big enough to justify trying to reach people with logic when they're emotional creatures. It's as if we think that if we just show them more things, more bottles of water, or do walnuts and tea bags and whatever else, if we show them more things, it's going to be a no-brainer and they'll finally get it. But when we focus on the science and we demo everything on the planet, we're assuming that we're dealing with creatures of logic, not creatures of emotion. Here's a good example of what I'm trying to get across to you this morning. I saw a Facebook post this morning from Tamia. You may have seen it as well. And we know that Tamia is excited, right? Her excitement is contagious. I mean, you can't not know. You could speak a different language and not even understand what she says, and you would be excited. She instills every emotion imaginable in her audience. It's not possible not to get excited when you hear Tamia talk about her business. When's the last time you saw or heard Tamia talk about the properties of the water? When's the last time you saw Tamia do a demo video, right? I hope you don't think it's not that she's not capable of doing a demo. She's a powerhouse. She can do anything she's inclined to do. I wasn't at the meeting last night, obviously, but I do know a couple of things. First of all, the weather outside was horrific, and yet the room was completely packed out. To me, is shared that people bought devices on the spot. And you know what? That's not at all uncommon in her meetings. One person schlepped their unit home on the train in the middle of that horrific weather. Emotion kicked in. Again, I wasn't there, but I can almost guarantee that if there was a demo at all, it was a very short and very sweet demo, enough to dazzle, enough to prompt those emotions, and the end result of that one meeting is confirmation. People always buy based on emotion. Here's a quote from Forbes magazine that I found when I was preparing that I think is interesting. The vast majority of prospects buy based on emotion, not logic. So the better you are at making an emotional connection between the prospect and whatever you're selling, the easier you'll find it to close sales. Your job as a salesperson is to help prospects see the benefits that they'll gain from owning your product. Pretty short and sweet. If we're talking about the business, we need to be excited about the business. If you're not excited, go back to the drawing board. You got to find excitement somewhere, right? Go back to the way it was for you in the beginning and rekindle that. If you are excited, but it doesn't show, work on you to make it show. Everything can be developed. Every characteristic, every character can be developed, right? It's our excitement that will likely instill emotions within other people that will prompt them to get on board. Long before the comp plan, they get excited about the business. We've heard it a million times in a different way. We've heard facts tell, stories sell. Well, what is that? Because facts are just facts and stories hit the emotional level. That's why that rings true, right? Entrepreneur Magazine had another quote. People like to feel loved, cared for, and important. I know I do, and I hope you do. People like to feel loved, cared for, and important. They want to believe that they are more than just another cog in the wheel, and that their needs and their opinions actually count. Therein lies the opportunity to take aim at the heart before trying to convince the brain. Learning to add value to their lives rather than just pushing your own agenda in an attempt to sell them. We have countless examples all around us, guys. Again, if you're looking at the advertising world, women are a great example. Women see beauty products, and we see those products, being demonstrated on somebody else, somebody young and beautiful, right? And our emotions kick in. And suddenly we can see ourselves looking as good as that model if we just buy the beauty products. The emotions kick in. We get excited. We don't necessarily ask to read every label on the product, and we certainly don't scientifically evaluate the contents. We see hope, we believe, and we buy, all based on our emotions. Same thing's true for men. Maybe they see a commercial about a power tool or some piece of equipment, and that man demonstrating the ease of the project with the tool or piece of equipment, just instills this belief in the man that their role, their job would be just as easy. Their emotions kick in, and they can see themselves effortlessly performing the task just like the man demonstrating that product. They don't usually want a full parts list or a mechanical engineer to evaluate before they buy. They buy based on emotions. You know that I was in the real estate auction business for a very long time, and sometimes people think of auctions as like a fire sale, cheap prices, right? But I can tell you something, nothing could be farther from the truth, at least not in my world. People got caught up in emotions, and logic went by the wayside. And even those people who told me, I will never spend another penny higher than this, they bid much higher than they said they would. And you know what? They justified their actions after the sale. And by the way, the same thing is true with, when I'm quote unquote selling my faith. I can share facts and figures and quotes until the cows come home, until they glaze over, right? But it's not the logic that's going to strike the one I'm talking to. In fact, until people come to my faith, there ain't a whole lot of logic to it at all, is there? It's the emotion that reaches them. It's sharing with them how my life has changed. It's sharing what my faith means to me with excitement and with conviction. That's what inspires people toward my faith. It's an emotional decision and not one based on logic. I wasn't around when our company first launched into the U.S., and leaders that we know and love today merely had some pH drops and a picture of a colon. And we laugh at that. And some people might believe that, we need a lot of improvements. We need a whole bunch more tools. We can't live with just pH drops and a picture of a colon. But that's not true. Those leaders hit the road with excitement, and the results speak for themselves. Not only was or is their excitement contagious, but they showed just a few examples. They weren't out there to educate people, guys. They were trying to get them excited about the possibilities in their life. PH drops to wow them a little bit, and maybe before and after picture of a colon to inspire them. And those things, along with the excitement, help the emotions kick in, and they built empires. You wonder why we rarely see that kind of massive growth, that some of the other leaders have, why we really not seeing a whole lot of that, almost overnight success, right? Because we lack the excitement. We began to focus on facts. We began to deal with people as logical creatures instead of emotional creatures. We got caught up in the science and the show and tell, and we forget all about the emotions. So how do we reach their emotions? Well, again, we got to go back to basics. People don't know how much you care, how much you know, until they know how much you care. We say that, and without even thinking about it. That tagline is indirectly saying that people will respond on the emotional level, not on the facts that you share. The facts are good to know, and they're good to share when they're needed, but that's not what snags them, right? People know that we care when we show them that we care. Words are never enough. We need to build a relationship by asking questions. We show sincere interest in them and in their lives. And we begin to address them at the emotional level when we offer a solution for their life. The emotional connection is imperative to success. Excitement will instill emotion every single time, and people like to be around positive, excited people. Why would anybody want to get on board if we aren't excited, or if it doesn't show that we're excited, right? Excitement, or the lack of excitement, by the way, is the biggest reason we can't get people to events and demos. If we aren't excited, they're sure not going to be excited. It's so much simpler than we like to make it be in our minds, right? The only thing that changes is what we're promoting. Human nature never changes. For instance, when you have a great meal at a restaurant, you share that meal with your warm circle of friends, right? You tell them, you have got to go to this restaurant and have the best burger and beer, or whatever it was. And your friends get so excited that they usually, will go to that restaurant just because of your excitement. And when you see a great movie and you say, you've got to see it, and most of your friends will absolutely go see it because of your excitement, not because of a trailer they saw. It's your excitement that hits them at the emotional level. So why would our business world be any different? People are still people, and people are always going to be emotional creatures, right? And we've got to stop dealing with them, or attempting to deal with them on a logical level. Reason with their emotions instead. And the best part? When people buy based on emotion, once they're sold, they defend and or they rationalize their decision to themselves. Once they're emotionally sold, they make it happen. You and I have seen it every time. When people say, no, wait a minute, I got to figure this thing out. They may not have a nickel to their name, and they go figure it out, because once they're emotionally engaged, there are no excuses for them. You don't have to beat them over the head. They justify their decision all on their own. And it's kind of funny, because they end up telling you why they need this business or these products. So are you using logic hoping to hit emotions? And the answer is probably so. I hope you'll consider this quote I'm going to share with you one more time. Maybe you want to post this in your office, or put a little piece of paper in your pocket to always remind you, when dealing with people, let us remember we're not dealing with creatures of logic. We're dealing with creatures of emotion, creatures bristling with prejudices and motivated by pride and vanity. Keep those words, and put them into play in your life and in your business. Your relationships, you'll see less conflict, because you'll stop trying to deal with people with logic, and you'll meet them on the emotional level, and you'll certainly see it in your business. We're in the people business, folks. It's important to understand how people are wired, and they're not wired on logic. Now, the logic that we're trying to put out there with science projects and long demos, and being a walking encyclopedia of ionization, they're not wired based on that logic. They're wired based on emotion. So I hope you'll put that to use, ponder it a little bit, maybe put that quote on your office wall. You guys go make it a great day. I'll see you at the top, and I'll see you next Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.